Zaleski are returning to their homes after a chemical leak from Austin Powder's Red Diamond facility. The latest details on the leak and what you need to know about potential health concerns.
Plus, Nelsonville City Council member Nancy Sonic is resigning, potentially leaving the city without a government come December. What this means for the future of the city's government in the face of the so-called December problem.
And
we're not frightened to do something else if we need to.
Protests against ICE raids continue for the 6th day in Los Angeles as the White House says it's not backing down. This as hundreds more Marines are on standby in LA. Newswatch starts right now. Welcome to Newswatch. I'm Megan Acker.
And I'm Joshua Herner. An evacuation order on Zaleski has been lifted after a gas leak forced hundreds of residents out of the village. Newswatch reporter Noah Cavan is live in MacArthur with more.
Guys, Vinton County High School was the site of relief efforts for those who were forced to evacuate Zaleski but had nowhere to go. Earlier, we spoke to a resident of Zaleski who told us just how crazy this morning was.
I was out cold asleep. I had people calling me saying, "Hey, where are you? Are you okay?" And then as I'm outside,
The evacuations came after a 5,000-gallon tank of nitric acid at Austin Powder Company's Red Diamond plant leaked around 8:30 this morning, releasing 3,000 gallons of nitric acid into the air. The acid oxidized and formed an orange cloud of nitric oxide that pushed to the northeast of the plant. Because of this, the FAA banned most flights from flying within a 30 nautical mile radius of the initial leak. That cloud, or plume, is contained, according to the Athens County Emergency Management Agency. The Ohio EPA lifted the evacuation order at 4:30. There were no reported injuries from today's leak, but officials say if you're experiencing symptoms after being exposed to the nitric oxide, such as skin irritation or shortness of breath, you should go get that checked out.
The main point in any exposure like this or any potential exposure is take care of yourself first and seek medical treatment if you need it.
We will continue to keep you posted on the gas leak as more information comes out in the coming days. Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Noah Cavan, live in MacArthur.
While the evacuation order has been lifted, the FAA still has a no-fly order surrounding the county.
For more details, let's turn it over to forecaster Steve Nedlick. Steve, could we see any change in air quality after this leak?
You know what? I don't think we will, and a big reason for that is this high pressure system that has been all over our region, and that played a huge role in helping them clean up this situation earlier because we didn't have any winds to help spread that leak all over the place. It was able to be contained pretty easily. Now, additionally with this high pressure, it's given us really sunny conditions and a high in the mid 80s. We peaked around 84, 85 degrees, so again, a beautiful day. Now, we don't have many clouds in the area or rain for that matter. So again, made it pretty easy for this to be cleaned up today and for efforts to be made to clean it up for the future. Now, tonight, the lack of clouds is going to play a role in dropping our temperature back down. So we will be on the lookout for a little bit of fog and some morning dew tomorrow morning. Tonight, however, the overnight low is going to get to 59. That's going to be in the early morning hours. Tonight might be a pretty nice night to go out and get some dinner, as it's still going to be in the 80s when we get to 7, 8 o'clock. Now, for tomorrow, again, the lack of clouds in the area is going to allow us to heat up big time. So be on the lookout for my full forecast where we talk about the weekend.
Thank you, Steve. Nelsonville city leaders had two potential solutions to the upcoming December problem. That's where all but one of the current council members' terms end November 30th. One solution to have a functioning council for December is to hold an election for 1-month terms starting and ending in that month. The other was to have the sole remaining council member start a process to appoint enough people to council for it to function. But in an exclusive report, I've learned that second option is no longer on the table.
I am actually going to give a letter of resignation at the first part of November. So November will be my last council month.
That's Nelsonville Council member Nancy Sonic, a critical piece to solving the city's upcoming December problem. Her plans to step down leave the city with few choices to cover a 1-month gap that could leave Nelsonville without a functioning government. Nelsonville City Law Director Jonathan Robe says if Sonic is not on council in December, and if no one runs to fill the vacancies for the December term, this creates a, quote, nightmare scenario.
And there's nobody to fill the vacancies because there's no appointing authority under the charter. That's the nightmare scenario.
Sonic says in this entire process, the citizens have been led astray.
Yes, I understand them wanting a mayor, but to do away with the council they have made a big mistake.
The ad hoc committee is a citizens committee offering suggestions to get the city through the December problem. Chair Reed Courtney says the committee has not considered other solutions.
I'm not prepared to say whether or not there's another contingency. I've looked at this issue a lot. I don't see one that's obvious right now.
Courtney says he plans on working with the city to draft a document providing information about the office for the 1-month term. Athens County is getting more than $225,000 to turn closed-down gas station into an electric vehicle facility. Athens County Port Authority received the grant funding from the Ohio Department of Development's Brownfield Remediation Program. The project will remove up to 3 underground gasoline storage tanks, piping, and about 100 pounds of contaminated soil to build the new facility. The site was last used as Russell's gas station on Columbus Road, but hasn't been in use for years.
Ohio Democrats are introducing several bills expanding gun safety regulations. House Bill 46 would let family members petition a court to temporarily take guns from someone deemed dangerous. Another bill, House Bill 45, would require a 10-day waiting period for firearm purchases. Many of the bills included in this package were already introduced in previous sessions, but failed to pass. While some bills have bipartisan support, lawmakers acknowledge it may be difficult to pass these regulations, as Republicans have a majority in both the House and Senate, and have recently passed laws decreasing gun regulations. The Ohio Democratic Party elected Kathleen Clyde to be its new party chair. Clyde is a former Ohio House representative and former Portage County commissioner. As chair, she says she hopes to increase outreach to communities, including Black and working-class Ohioans. Clyde also says she is working towards having a Democratic candidate on every ticket for the 2026 election. As of now, only one statewide elected official is a Democrat, Ohio Supreme Court Justice Jennifer Brunner, but every top state official is up for election in 2026.
Protesters are back in a downtown LA today, as are hundreds of state and local law enforcement officers with federal officers on standby. As Michael Yoshida explains, the Trump administration is signaling it won't back down on its efforts to confront violence anytime soon.
We're not frightened to do something else if we need to.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi standing firm behind the president's actions in Los Angeles, placing hundreds of Marines on standby just outside the city and mobilizing the National Guard.
To protect our federal buildings, to protect the highways, to protect the citizens.
This morning, the U.S. Northern Command says those Marines are still undergoing training, including how to use non-lethal weapons.
These are the men and women trained for foreign combat, not domestic law enforcement.
On a New York Post podcast today, Trump says he feels more emboldened in his second term.
I can be stronger on an attack on Los Angeles. I think bringing in the National Guard 4 years ago or 8 years ago would have been more difficult.
California Governor Gavin Newsom has accused the president of dangerously inflaming the situation by sending in Marines and National Guard troops.
Democracy is under assault before our eyes.
An overnight curfew has been in effect in parts of downtown to tamp down potentially violent agitators and run-ins with the LAPD.
This was provoked by the White House. I posit that maybe we are part of a national experiment to determine how far the federal government can go in reaching in and taking over power from a governor.
The mayor says the curfew, which covers about 1 square mile of downtown LA, is likely to continue for a few more days. LA's unrest comes as similar protests take place in several other cities like New York, Austin, Washington, D.C., and Chicago. In Los Angeles, Michael Yoshida reporting.
A New York jury returned a mixed verdict on the retrial of Harvey Weinstein. The former Hollywood mogul was facing charges of criminal sexual acts against 3 women. The jury found the 73-year-old guilty on one of those charges, acquitted him on a second, and did not reach a decision on a third. Jurors are expected to continue deliberations tomorrow. Weinstein was initially convicted of criminal sexual act and rape in 2020, but last year an appeals court overturned that verdict, determining that the trial judge should not have allowed testimony from accusers that did not lead to charges. A source says President Trump told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to end the war in Gaza and stop talk of an attack on Iran. Trump says Monday's phone call with Netanyahu went very well. This comes as Washington pushes for a nuclear deal with Iran and continues indirect talks with Hamas over a ceasefire in Gaza. Israel's foreign minister cited recent progress in ceasefire talks that also aim to bring back hostages held in Gaza. Last week, Hamas said it remains open to the deal proposed by the U.S. envoy, but wants stronger guarantees against Israeli attacks.
Coming up, Trump announces a new plan to phase out the Federal Emergency Management Agency in the face of a particularly rough hurricane season.
And global economic growth is on the decline, what experts believe to be the cause.
Rain is in the forecast. Find out when it gets here next.
The only things that really interest me are forensics and criminology.
I need her on my team.
The solution lies in looking at it from a different angle.
Patience is the only one who spotted a pattern between those deaths.
Your father was a police officer.
I need to solve the case.
I can't leave a puzzle unsolved any more than you can.
Sunday at 8 on WOUB.
On Masterpiece Mystery.
I am always here to serve and to listen. The good Reverend, love 'em and leave 'em. I want to find someone like you found Kathy.
Help! Please! Everyone who witnessed a murder today, hands up.
Deep, dark secrets. We all have those.
There is something else you should know. What is this? This is who I am.
A new season of Grantchester on Masterpiece Mystery.
Sunday at 9 on WOUB.
There's much about me that you don't know. It's quite the adventure. Shall we?
It doesn't matter where you live or how much money you make. Public broadcasting gives you a front row seat to history, the arts, news and information, and children's programming. These are the reasons 170 million Americans choose PBS each month. We're part of our local community, supporting our schools, celebrating our heritage, and preparing our children for a better future.
It was a beautiful day in Athens today as highs got into the mid-80s with plenty of sunshine, and that humidity stayed at a pretty comfortable level, so it was pretty dry summer weather today. Now, a big reason for that is this high pressure system that, again, has just been parked over our area and hasn't really been going anywhere, and so it's kept us free from clouds and showers, as right now, there's nothing in sight. So we've had a pretty nice sunny day, but with that, we've had no clouds either. Now that does one of two things. The first one is awesome. It helps us heat up all day long, and that's why even after that cold front moved through, we've bounced right back up to about average temperatures for this time of year, so that's been awesome. However, on the back end of that, you get pretty chilly temperatures overnight, so before it cools down tonight, it might be a pretty nice night to go enjoy a dinner, as temperatures are going to stay in the 80s until about 8 or 9 p.m. when that sun really starts to set. But once it does, there's going to be nothing to hold that heat in. There's going to be no blanket to keep all of it in, so it's all going to radiate back out. So it's going to get pretty chilly tonight, so you might wake up to some fog in the morning, so make sure to give yourself just a little bit extra time heading out the door tomorrow morning. Now, again, looking at the weather tomorrow, this front starts to droop down, but for the most part tomorrow, it's going to stay up north, and so we won't experience anything. It'll be a pretty nice summer day. However, we're going to start getting some moisture coming up from the Gulf, and that's going to make it feel a little less comfortable outside. It's going to be a little bit more humid, so that's something we're going to be watching for. Now, it is, again, going to be a warm one, 89, no clouds, so it's going to be heated right back up. So we got to be watching out for that, because if you're working outside, make sure to take some breaks here and there. Now, Friday morning is where it starts to get interesting. This front starts to move in, and we start to possibly get some pop-up showers here and there, but nothing long-lived, and not a lot of rain is going to come with it, but it could be short bursts of thunderstorms here and there. Once we get to Friday night is when it starts to get a little bit more widespread, but again, nothing too crazy. Now, taking a wide look back on Friday, this is when it starts to get pretty widespread. Now, earlier in the week, we thought, oh, maybe we might dodge this rain, but this front has dropped down big time, and we're going to see widespread rain up north, down south, all over the place, and that's where we're going to get a lot of our rain totals. It's just going to be long downbursts of rain, And the problem is there's a lot of energy from all this cooking that's been going on over the past 2 or 3 days with all this sunshine. So there's also the chance of thunderstorms mixed into all of this. And it's just going to keep up through the weekend. So Father's Day weekend could be a bit of a washout. Hopefully we get some breaks here and there. But if we take a look now at the 7-day forecast, Sunday, again, pretty widespread, 70% chance. And again, we have a lot of that, energy from the sun in our area. So we still have that chance of thunderstorms on Sunday. And then again, on Monday, it sticks around. So we don't really get a break from the rain, at least for the next 5, 6, 7 days. So we're going to take advantage of these days coming up.
Absolutely, Steve. I mean, we talked a little bit about that chemicals situation over in Vinton County. Are we going to see any long-term weather effects from that?
No, the good thing is we had that high pressure move in, and it allowed for pretty calm weather to be around for them to clean that up. So we should be in the clear in terms of that.
Absolutely. And is that rain going to help dampen any situation there?
No, but it'll help give us a little bit of moisture in the soil, so that'll be good.
Absolutely, especially for Father's Day.
And that rain, Steve, it won't hurt any potential situation out there, right?
I don't think so, no. That should be good.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. The Federal Emergency Management after this year's hurricane season. He says he wants to bring FEMA down to the state level and let the governors handle it. Trump added that the federal government will start distributing less federal aid for disaster recovery. He plans to eliminate FEMA, have baffled federal and state emergency managers who say most states don't have the budget or personnel to handle catastrophic disasters on their own. The U.S. and China say they've agreed on a framework for a trade deal. After 2 days of intense talks, the U.S. and China say they've agreed for a framework, and President Trump and Xi Jinping will have to give their approval before it can be implemented. Neither side disclosed any details, but Trump posted on social media saying the plan included, quote, full magnets and any necessary rare earths from China, while the U.S. would allow Chinese students to attend its colleges and universities.
The World Bank reports that global economic growth is on the decline. In a report released yesterday, the Washington, D.C.-based institution forecasted international gross domestic product will fall to 2.3%. That's down from the 2.7% projected in January, and it places the world economy on a path for its slowest growth pace in nearly 2 decades. Researchers say the Trump administration's trade war is a main factor in the expected slump for businesses across the planet. New data on inflation shows moderately stable prices despite tumultuous trade policies. Karen Kaifa is in Washington with more on what the effects of tariffs have been so far.
Despite the economic churn around President Donald Trump's rapidly changing tariff policies, government inflation data showed just modest price increases during May, with the overall consumer price index up 2.4% year over year, just a slight uptick from April.
It's quite possible that higher tariffs will, in fact, later on translate to higher inflation, but it simply has not happened yet.
Experts say there's a few reasons prices didn't surge last month. First, some tariffs were curtailed or postponed. Some businesses beefed up their pre-tariff inventories. Others absorbed the first wave of higher import costs. Cardiff Garcia of the Economic Innovation Group and host of the New Bazaar podcast says many businesses have taken a wait-and-see approach.
They've essentially bought themselves some time and some maneuverability until they have a better sense of exactly what the future holds for tariffs and for trade policy.
And economist Natasha Sarin of the Budget Lab at Yale University says the data lags behind price hikes retailers like Walmart and Target have said are already happening.
Economists have started to do the hard work of trying to look at real-time price increases. So they're looking at what online retailers are posting as prices for imported goods, and those are actually rising.
Appliance prices rose by 0.8% from April. Toy prices climbed for a second consecutive month, up 1.3%. Some consumer electronics like TVs also saw price increases. Moderating some of the upticks, gas prices, which fell 2.6%.
Next, a new study finds a link between screen time and social and emotional problems in children.
The Ohio Art Corridor is a destination experience. We would like this to be the largest outdoor art gallery in the world.
Portsmouth was able to field an incredible team for a brief moment in the sun that almost was sweet enough to get them a national championship.
We got land granted to us in Ohio. Great opportunity. Let's go. How would you know you got here? It was just sheer determination and patience and just hard, back-breaking work.
The bridge was acclaimed at the time of being an engineering marvel.
Progress is all about taking the lessons of the past and doing better. So I would hope that now that we know better, we will do better.
For more than 70 years, WOUB Public Media has been the place where people in our region turn to learn how stories of the past ignite the imagination of the future. It's where information, entertainment, and education work together to inform, enlighten, and inspire generations. It's the place where the community gathers to hear and see our world in new and innovative ways. WOUB, the public media you trust that's worthy of your support.
WOUB is recognizing members of our Cornerstone Society. The Cornerstone Society is a group that wants to ensure the future of public media in our region. It includes people across our area who value news, entertainment, and cultural programming, as well as the educational services WOUB provides. Also included are graduates of Ohio University who took part in the WOUB Student Professional Development Program. Thanks to the Cornerstone Society for their generous support. To learn how you can be involved, email woub@woub.org.
The Food and Drug Administration has approved a new treatment to protect infants from RSV. The medication contains antibodies and is given as a single shot to protect infants from the deadly disease throughout their first virus season. RSV is the top cause of infant hospitalization in the U.S. In trials, the therapy reduced RSV-associated hospitalizations in infants by more than 80% compared with a placebo. The shot is awaiting recommendation status from the CDC. The company that manufactures the drug, Merck, hopes and Flacona will be available before the start of the 2025-26 respiratory virus season. A report found that kids who spend too much time staring at screens appear to have more behavioral issues. The study analyzed more than 100 kids under the age of 11. The author says the more screen time a child has, the more likely they are to develop problems including anxiety, depression, and aggression. The study confirms the need for limits on screen time. General recommendations say kids under 2 should have none, ages 2 to 5 should be limited to an hour per day, and older kids should be capped at 2 hours per day.
Hundreds of workers who were fired from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Center are getting their jobs back. According to a spokesperson at the Department of Health and Human Services, more than 450 jobs will be reinstated. That's about 20% of the 2,400 CDC employees who were dismissed. The cuts were part of a massive reorganization in April. Some of the workers focused on HIV, lead exposures, and workplace safety. The HHS spokesperson didn't say why those jobs were reinstated or when those employees can expect to get back to work. Warmer weather usually leads to more time spent outdoors, but fun in the sun can often lead to skin issues. In today's Health Minute, here are some tips on how to prevent 5 common summer skin problems.
The sun, the sweat, the itchy, oily, or dry skin. Summertime can wreak havoc on our bodies.
It's very common to end up getting different types of rashes, different type of skin conditions that are related to heat and humidity.
Dr. Susan Masick with the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center says the first common skin problem you can prevent is acne. She suggests washing your face with cleanser twice a day in the summer to decrease oil, sweat, and bacteria. Next, folliculitis can be a problem. It's an inflammation of hair follicles and can happen anywhere there's hair on the body. To avoid this problem, shower as soon as possible after sweating and then change into clothing that's breathable like cotton or material that's moisture wicking. Third, sweat from the heat can make skin dehydrated, dry, and irritated, leading to rashes or rough patches. Masick says to avoid this by re-moisturizing the skin after showering. The next summer problem, a condition called melasma or hyperpigmentation of the skin, usually in sun-exposed areas. It happens mostly in women because pregnancy and birth control play into it. She says daily sunscreen is key to prevention.
If you know you're going to be outdoors for longer periods of time, try to shoot for an SPF of 50+.
Finally, heat rash, also called prickly heat, can happen when sweat glands get blocked, causing small bumps on the skin.
A way to avoid it is to avoid perspiration and decrease the sweat. So staying cool and making sure you shower afterwards.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Still ahead, how a summer reading program is helping furry friends find a new home.
I just found something quite extraordinary.
Look at those teeth. 150 million years ago, the oceans were dominated by a mysterious sea monster, and this could be one of the largest, best preserved skulls ever found. Now, working with scientists, we can uncover more about this prehistoric giant than ever before. Could this be the greatest Jurassic predator that ever lived?
Tonight at 8 on WOUB. Monday at 8 on WOUB.
Can you feel the moment?
The American Revolution changed the world.
Where the story unfolds.
Everybody had the sense of possibility worth fighting for.
What took place here still leaves us in awe.
We can work towards equality together.
Wow, this is the missing piece. Incredible.
To confront these figures from ancient history is a great privilege.
Our history tells us who we are, where we came from.
And it's all connected.
Like links in a chain.
Like links in a chain.
Yeah.
All I can do is say thank you.
Wow, this is phenomenal. I'm really grateful for this.
During the dog days of summer, one shelter is offering a unique reading program to kids. Club Paws at the Humane Society of South Mississippi helps kids sharpen their reading skills by reading to shelter pets. Kids can also make and share treats with the animals. The program helps reduce kennel stress and promote adoptions.
Well, Josh and Steve, that is just adorable. Steve, do you have any dogs at home?
I don't, but I know for a fact if I was a kid, that would make me want to read more. Getting a dog to hang out with. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't have any dogs growing up, but it's awesome to see, the cool stories around animals and how people are promoting adoption, nowadays.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, if I want to take my dogs at home out for a walk, what's the weather looking like for tomorrow?
It might be a pretty nice day to go take your dog out to the park tomorrow, as we're going to have highs in the mid to upper 80s. As for tonight, going to get pretty chilly, but again, if you need to take your dog for a walk tonight, just throw on a light jacket and you'll be good to go. Mostly clear skies. Heading into tomorrow again, those clouds start to roll in. Pretty humid, but Friday is when we start to get a little bit of rain into the forecast, and after that, we don't get a break for a pretty long time, and we have some thunderstorms that could pop into the area Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so we'll be monitoring that closely, so make sure to tune into Newswatch tomorrow.
And that does it for our broadcast this evening. For Steve Nedlick, I'm Joshua Herner.
And I'm Megan Acker. Thank you for watching, folks. Stay tuned for PBS NewsHour coming up next.
This is PBS, but it could go away if federal funding is eliminated. Go to protectmypublicmedia.org and tell Congress to save funding for your PBS station.